It's funny. I was gonna say I was gonna try very hard to not make this a romance stream because we did one on Saturday. But I have to admit that there are certain elements of this that tie into it because a lot of this stuff is connected. And sometimes people don't realize that. And we also have to start the stream off by reading another goofy comment that was written. So give me 1 second. I just don't get these people at all. Like, why is it so hard for someone to actually just address what I'm saying? This guy says this is the video with I keep trying to get them monetized. Why pay girls are better than girlfriends, let's put it that way. He says this is silly, you seem smart, but it's obvious. Pay girls only do it for money. They don't care about you. They just want to get paid and get out of there. It's really comedic that he writes that because in the stream I said, yes, they don't care about you. Yes, they're doing it for money. But that's kind of the point that I would rather have someone do something up front for a motive that is clearly established than talk to some random broad for several weeks or months who can be trying to use me in a myriad of ways. Um, I don't remember saying anywhere that pay girls care about you. That's why I always find these comments comedic. Like they have to put words in my mouth while also not actually addressing what I'm saying. That's why I'm probably going to turn the comment section of that video off because we don't need to have people not actually respond to what's being said in mass. Because most of the people that do that are ones that don't even watch my stuff anyway, so it's not going to have any long-term effect on me. I don't think it's really comedic. There are a lot of people on YouTube that will just watch one video from somebody and then like never check their stuff. Like there's a lot of guys I've seen who have, let's say, a video that has 1 million views and they'll have 2,000-3,000 subs that they got from that video, blowing up. And then you look on their channel and all the other videos have maybe a few hundred, 10. I think that's really sad because I know some content creators that I like who have, one video that gets really big and then the rest are like ignored, even though they're just as good, if not better. So that's really disappointing. I've talked about the Benoit murder suicide a few times. I've never like done a stream just directly about it because there's nothing I can really say about it that nobody else has said. But for those of you who aren't familiar with it, and I expect a lot of people to know it because they do tend to trot it out whenever they're talking about the stuff that killed wrestling in the United States. Was it 13 years ago, 14 years ago? In 2007, there was a wrestler who, by all accounts, was a normal family man who was supposed to fight CM Punk over the weekend, and he wasn't responding, so they did a welfare check, and then they found his dead body along with that of his wife and 7-year-old child. And then discovered later that he had killed both his wife and son over the weekend before hanging himself. It's a big shock. Steroids were blamed as an effect because we know for a fact that there was something wrong with his brain, that it had deteriorated, in part due to wrestling and in part due to all the different drugs and stuff that were taken for wrestling as well. I think the pressure of fame got to him. I don't know about that, but when I was watching the Dark Side of the Ring documentary on this last year, and I watched it again before doing the stream, it was really forwarded that because a lot of people who talk about him tend to leave out certain stuff. They'll either just talk about the murder suicide or they won't discuss, because before that he was accused of hitting his wife at some point. She tried to file a restraining order on him and then reneged. But again, before that, he lost Guerrero, who's in the picture for the thumbnail, who became his best friend that he knew for over 10 years. He also lost Johnny Grunge. That was another wrestler who's not as famous as those two, but was still someone he was friends with for a long time. And I was watching this one video that this person did where he said that, and this is like a wrestling commentator I fairly like, so I'm not going to say his name, but he said, "Oh, it seemed like Benoit had an unhealthy obsession with Guerrero." And I was just rolling my eyes because it's like, this is someone who you're friends with for over 10 years. You spend pretty much all day with because you travel around with each other to these different parts of the world. And then when they're no longer around after prematurely dying, uh, you're surprised that would have a negative impact on that person. I just didn't like that description. That really just, I didn't write any nasty comments or anything because that's not my modus operandi. But I just think it's crazy that you're supposed to like not be upset or angry, or I don't know what it goes back to that whole thing of like how people tell someone how to act. What way are you supposed to act when someone that you're best friends with for years just drops dead, and then that person you also worked with every day, you traveled around the world with, you spend more time with this person than your family, and you're supposed to just be like, hey, it's just another day in the hood, whatever, go to the funeral and then get over it. I really hate when people say stuff like that, because I think there are a lot of different ways to grieve, and um, that's why when people say you have to move on, the definition of that is so nebulous. Like, um, you have some people who say that you move on by just continuing to do what you were doing before. You have other people who say you move on by, I guess, not being affected by it anymore. Because there are a lot of people who have a long-term disillusion, disposition, whatever you want to call it, with losing someone, who can still get up and like do the things that they did before, but then it's still there, like they still feel it. Peter Cushing, for example, that's the actor that played Tarkin in Star Wars, along with some other stuff. I don't want to run through his whole filmography, but I think it was in his autobiography where there's some book that mentions how when his wife died, he felt like his life ended when hers did. And again, this is part of the same thing that Benoit had with Guerrero, where you have this person who you spend a lot of time with, you're around for this very long amount of time, and then suddenly they're snatched away, and then you're told to just keep trucking, just keep doing what you were doing. And even if you do that, continue, because Benoit continued to wrestle even after Cushing's wife died. He continued to appear in movies. It still has an effect on you, because that person that was with you for a very long amount of time, who you had a connection with, whether it was romantic or platonic, left you. No, I hate when people tell someone how to act about this stuff. It's really annoying. Telling someone who is grieving over a loved one to just move on is incredibly disrespectful and just inconsiderate. Right, and that's also what kills me about it, and the fact that they don't explain how this is how it is. Everybody has their own definition of moving on. Um, and like Benoit would fit the definition of you continue to do what you were doing before, but again, he was still affected by this. So, this particular wrestling commentator was like, he had an obsession with Guerrero. I'm like, I would dare to think that if my best friend died, person I knew for over 10 years, just abruptly and really randomly, because that's what that story was, it came out of nowhere, he just collapsed, I would be broken up over it. And while I would almost certainly still do videos and other, the different things I currently do, I would think about him constantly or often. And, again, people are very inconsiderate. My grandmother has been dead for 7 years now, and I still grieve her death. Oh, Banana Merchant, you're doing some foreshadowing. We want to talk about a dead grandparent, and years later still being bothered by it. We'll get into this later. I just that's going to lead into something else I'm talking, because there are a lot of instances where people will lose someone, and then like it, no matter how long it passes, just like Ted Kennedy, his brother. So he died in 2009. His brother, the president Kennedy, died in '63. And there's an interview with him from the '90s where he mentions that he thinks about his brother every day. Man's been dead for 30 years, and he still thinks about him each day that passes. That's why I think it's so sad that people are told to just get over it and move on. And because again, it's basically like this: they're telling you to ignore, and maybe they're not actually saying this because they usually aren't. They don't say it this nasty, but the inference you can draw from what they're saying is get over the fact that this person who meant the world to you or was very important to you is no longer around. You're never going to see them again, and just proceed as if nothing occurred. Do I want to get into the grandparent thing yet? I don't know. I might. I was trying to get a little bit further into the stream because I wanted to make sure I just discussed the Benoit and Guerrero thing a little bit more. Um, that whole thing with Guerrero was so sad. It's like you get suspended from WWE and then you clean yourself up and you act right and you get this big career resurgence and you win the championship for the first time ever. And then because of mistakes you made before you did any of your self correction, you die. I hate that so much. It's a really sad story. It's not as sad as Benoit's simply because no one was murdered, but it still by itself is pretty depressing. Yeah, it is interesting to read a lot of the commentary that's written where people talk about how if Guerrero hadn't have died, then Benoit wouldn't have killed his family. And I there's a part of me that kind of sees that a little bit because when you listen to the Dark Side of the Ring documentary that has all the people that knew him talking about him, if you take them at their word, and I tend to do that when people are talking about someone they knew that I didn't. He was very negatively impacted and acted very differently after Guerrero died. So part of me believes that, the other part is kind of just, you know. But again, no one could have predicted that was going to happen, which is why it was this big shock that the news spent months talking about. Talking about CT and brain damage and all the rest of that. I was actually having a discussion. This is kind of unrelated a little bit, but I was having this discussion with a wrestling fan, and I was telling him, because he said that Benoit was one of his favorite wrestlers, and he said that when he goes online, he doesn't like to mention him because people, immediately start talking about the murder suicide. And I said, well, there are a lot of wrestlers who have not killed their family that if you say you like, people will still speak negatively or disparagingly toward you over. Which means that, how to explain this? When you give someone the same result as you would for something else, you make what that person did not seem as, because I don't get mad at someone who says that Benoit was their favorite wrestler. He was a wrestler for over 20 years, and then this weekend just completely destroyed his reputation. But when I know that people will get mad, even if you bring up your favorite wrestler being someone that didn't do what he did, it's like, why even be bothered that they get, angry over that? So that's just something I thought was interesting. Yeah, but the Benoit situation really is just like I empathize with him so much, and that year after Guerrero dies, up until he does what he does, because they talked about how he would lay in his bed. He had this book that he would write stuff to him. Because there are a lot of people that when someone dies, they write something to them, uh, and it's really sad that turned out the way that it did. But actually, it's crazy because that's not even the only time that happened. That's probably the most high profile instance where that happened, but not the only one. So just give me one more moment, and we'll get into this story that is sure to tickle some tail feathers and rub a few people the wrong way. And certainly, when I was watching a video on it, I didn't even like I was just kind of empathizing with the person, and then all of a sudden they do something evil. I'm like, okay, well, now I don't feel anything. Just I feel very confused. I hate the YouTube app so much. It's the worst. Yeah, I was on this person's Facebook page. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up again. Waiting. Oh, they want me to. I like how it finally comes up, and then it tells me I have to sign in to see this stuff. Okay, so there was this woman named Christy Sheets. Let me go and your comment got hidden by YouTube. I don't know why. I didn't even read it. The reason why people are so negative online is because it festers like a fungus and slowly grows. Not to mention, it makes for a good video to just crap on something relentlessly. Oh yeah, I know this one actress who this guy doesn't like, and he made 3 or 4 videos on her every week for like 2 or 3 months until she apparently striked him or something. And it like if it's a court case, if it's some major, but it's like they'll some one of her followers will put up a tweet like, "This is proof of this." Just oh my god, that's how you know people run out of content when they start making videos on tweets by people who aren't even the person they're talking about. And hell, like just I think it's so ridiculous to even make a video about a tweet, just like one tweet. But anyways, there was this woman named Christy Sheets, and she was raised by I think her grandparents, and then she got married, and then she had 2 daughters. Um, and then in 2012, her grandpa died. Someone who raised her whole life. There are multiple passages of her on Facebook talking about how he was her hero and he had taken care of her and calling him her papa and all, a bunch of stuff that I certainly, can empathize with. Uh, and then 2 months later, her mother dies. So she loses these 2 people that were very close to her in this really short span of time. Uh, and then in the years between then and 2016, she tries to kill herself 3 times. And then there's some other incidents, but again, like all of her harmful stuff is directed towards herself. She doesn't bring it upon her family at all. And they were talking about how over over that 4-year period, she was largely unemployed. Apparently, like lost her job sometime after that too. Whether that factored into it, I don't know. Um, but one day she's in, I guess, the living room of her house with her children, her daughters, and her husband. And there's an argument that goes off because apparently her and her husband are trying to get a divorce, or he's trying to get a divorce from her. And she shoots both of her daughters, I believe, multiple times to where they like start running out the house and they're calling 911. And they notice she won't shoot her husband, just won't blast him. So then when she goes outside to try shooting her daughter again to kill her, that's when she gets shot and then dies after that. And then one of her daughters is dead on the scene with her, and then the other one is transported to the hospital where she's later pronounced dead. And the reason asserted by the husband for why he himself was not targeted by his wife is because just as she had lost her grandfather and her mother, 2 people that she loved and cared about, she wanted him to lose 2 people that he loved and cared about, in this instance being his daughters that he had with her. And it's really disturbing to go on her Facebook page because it's just like the Benoit thing. Looks like a completely normal person uh prior to this happening, to where if you didn't even mention this story and I just saw this Facebook page, I was like, oh, this is just this person that used to post on Facebook. She had some pro Republican posts. I don't agree with any of that stuff, but you know, there's a whole bunch of people who write stuff like that. So that makes her even more normal because how many other people believe that, that stuff. And it's really disturbing watching the post where she talks about loving her kids and, firearms and the rest of that, because it's just, it goes hand in hand with what happened during that. But the reason I said that, Banana Merchants, I'm still having a hard time remembering that name. Your comment about your grandmother was foreshadowing, is because it had been over 4 years when at the time that these murders happened since her grandpa died. And as far as we're aware, and actually we know for a fact because she was still posting, this is the second anniversary, the third anniversary. So even as time passed, she was still affected by it. That's why I hate the phrase "time heals all wounds" because it's really annoying, and people like to say that so that they can believe, they don't want to like actually accept the idea that losing certain stuff has a negative impact on someone. You can't always just click your heels and then, oh, everything's better now. Just it's more of that Disney stuff I despise. But um, yeah, she was affected by his death. Years after it happened, even then, and it led to a bout of mental illness that culminated in the destruction of pretty much her entire family. Pretty like this is literally what would have happened if her story is kind of like Benoit's, in that it's like that one or two people that they lose before, and then a few years pass, and they go and do something murderous, and they usually are left with one survivor. So just like how Christie's husband survived and was like around to, I guess, tell the tale, Benoit's son and daughter that he had with his first wife were still around. That's always what scares me, the idea that one of them would have been there and gotten killed as well. Because there are a lot of people who didn't know that Benoit was married before the second time, which I found hilarious because these people call themselves wrestling fans, and they all know about the murder suicide, but it just goes back to that thing of how if people know about someone but they don't know much about them, they've heard the name but they don't know what they did or anything like that. Some people just can't get over the losses they've experienced, and that's fine, they don't have to. And it's disrespectful to expect to get over it because you want them to. Yeah, and what's even more disturbing is that a lot of these people who say just get over it, it's like they don't understand how losing someone that you loved or were with for some large amount of time can have an adverse effect on that person. Again, if you go on social media, you will see people, quote unquote, trying to comfort another person by saying, "Oh, don't worry, it'll get better. We have no reason to believe it'll get better, but it'll get better." Because I'm just an overly optimistic twat that doesn't want to accept that certain stuff you're not going to heal from. Right, and people are still confused as to why I don't like a lot of people on the computer. I knew this one broad I was trying to, I guess, get with romantically, who her dad died when she was 15, um, and I expressed my condolences but even though it had been, it was like 7 years before we spoke, even though it had been some relatively long period since it happened, I didn't try to say, well, you have to move on. It's been this amount of years, so duh, 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 duh. Great thumbnail. I'm a huge fan of wrestling, even though it's not the topic. Um, I just consider myself a casual person. I know some things about it. I don't do videos on it because I don't consider myself informed enough to discuss it with any sense of authority. But for the video and the two people that are in it, they were the topic of discussion for the first part of it, or the stream rather. Yeah, the only real thing I could extrapolate from the chick situation is that I guess I always look at it as sort of ironic that you have people who will tell you just to move on from being, I guess, affected by the loss of someone you really cared about that did things for you, and then you're supposed to like put all this effort into impressing people that you've never even met before. Remember with that self improvement stuff? Everyone grieves differently. Yeah, and we have grief communism. Everybody has to grieve the same way. But really, all this stuff is just tied to the core idea of this person meant a lot to you. You can't see him anymore, and then you're expected to like not be affected by that permanently. It's just a momentary delay or slight. I did feel really bad for Benoit's dad because he used to do interviews. Like imagine losing, like imagine having a son that you help with becoming a wrestler. Like you buy him all the little different stuff to train and whatnot, and then he becomes this, big time wrestler, and then he starts taking drugs or whatever, and then kills himself and your grandson. If that was me, I'd be so evil. It's like damn well that affected him. It's just like, but again, people they don't care. They try to tell you, but just get over it. Just move on. I know for a fact that if I got a call right and was told that my mother passed away, I'd be an emotional wreck. My mom said that about her mother. She said that if her mother died, she would be laying on the floor crying for a week, if not longer. I live on the West Coast, and I came here the last time I had a date. Yeah, join the club. They have a whole, we have a small militia of men that have that same issue, if not even more. That's what I always found comedic about the people that do all that analyzing stuff. They act like you are so unique, and we already went over this on Saturday, but just you're so unique that this is why this has happened to you because you look this way and nobody else looks that way. So there are a lot of men affected by this that just don't say anything, and that's why you can never truly estimate what the number of it is. Because even if a man might necessarily not go and talk to 90 chicks or even talk to them, period, he might still have the same problem if he ever tries. And then he would, by happenstance, be in a similar situation, but then not discuss it online and have people be aware of the fact that he exists and has this similar problem. Because that's how my best friend was until that stream we did. What was that, 2 3 years ago? He didn't post on social media anywhere that he had trouble with this topic. Like there are a lot of people who are affected by just don't say anything, which is ironic because one of the talking points of people who kind of want to like sweep this under the rug is that if you just don't say anything, it'll get better. There will be this magic woman that shows up and likes you and says, "I'm so glad you didn't talk about this, otherwise I wouldn't like you." Yeah, I'm gonna turn comments off on that video. I'm really, I just, why can't people respond to what I say? I don't understand this at all. With that guy that made that comments about Benoit being obsessed with Guerrero, if I were responding to his video, I would say, hey, I like the video, but I disagree with this part because dot 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 dot. And even if I was like singling out one part of the video I didn't agree with, I would still be addressing what he said in the video. The dating scene is horrible in Oregon for a single straight masculine male. It feels like it's horrible everywhere. I mean, you go online and some of these chicks are coming from places I've never even heard of before. The Czech Republic and Trinidad and all the rest of those regions. And they're doing the same stuff as the ones that are from here. They're talking to you for weeks or months and then, you know, saying, oh, I only like you as a friend, go away. It's not even worth it to get in a relationship anyway. I haven't dated anyone for 3, and the last person I dated begged me for money the whole time as I was breaking my back at work. Yeah, well, that's why I said that a lot of these relationships are uneven and one-sided, and it's men set up to fail. Because there's no way in hell that if some woman thought I was attractive, I'd be able to coast off of that and beg her for coins, and no one would tell her to get rid of me. Oh, he's pretty. We can't get upset that he's begging us for coins every time we speak to him or just at all. No, he's pretty, so he gets away with that. I remember men are set up to fail. If that man had never been with that woman, he would have never lost. I don't even know how much money that was on that storage unit, and then her taking the 600 out of the bank account every month. Hell, when I do the video on what was the name of that video again? And she was pretty controlling. Yeah, they tend to be that way. When I do the video on what was I'm trying to remember the damn title, but there's a video I'm doing this week, and I was going to mention this woman that was with this guy that after he broke up with her, she started sneaking in his house through a doggy door and slashed his tires, and then after she found out that he was taking some other woman to on some trip somewhere, she came to his house taking pictures of him while he was showering, and then stabbed him over 20 times and shot him in the head. And I was going to point out that if he had never been with this woman, he would still be alive because nobody else he dated acted that way. Women in this city only want guys who are known players. I don't know what they want. Because if you just sit there and listen to them, like just the stuff they type to you, they really can convince you, oh, I care so much about you and you're so great. Da, 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 da. It's like, but if he's good or great or you like him a lot, why is he still getting rejected? So I said that you'll lose your mind trying to figure out what these chicks want because it's all over the place. Told you I never thought I'd see the day a woman would ask me on a date and then still reject me. Like she'd be the one to be aggressive in that way and then just it's the same result. No, it's just a bunch of liars. They say one thing, do the opposite. That's the best way to describe it. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I gave pretty much all the examples I wanted to use. It's weird because a lot of people seem to not be able to understand that part of mental health um, is relationships, and like no one is even talking about most romantic relationships, but just like you can draw a line between how someone feels physically and then how they feel emotionally. And if one of those is out of step, it's going to have bad effects for that person. That's why you can find a lot of couples that were married for long amounts of time where one partner dies, then the other one dies like really quickly after that. Like I know that Nixon's wife, Pat, died. I think it was in June of '93, and then he wasn't even around for a whole year after that. And he was well enough when she died to stand at her wedding and like give remarks and whatnot. So he just completely deteriorated in that 10-month period. I definitely can relate to the title of the stream. But I look at something like that and I actually, like I've said before, I don't believe in love as far as I believe people have had it, but that a good chunk of men will not experience it because it's like just all the like stupid things that chicks do. But I can look at a couple like that and actually believe that they were in love. Um, whether he died a few months later or not. It's simply really frustrating that when you have, and goes back to this whole like mental illness thing with these people on the computer, with the World Without Heroes 2 stream, where we have someone who says, you're mediocre because you're single, like really putting chicks on this hyper pedestal, like making them the only thing that matters in your entire life. It's really a slap in the face to any other relationships you have with people, because I would think someone would be more concerned about, I don't know, trying to appeal to their parents who had taken care of them than some random broad who might not even like them anyway, as most of them haven't. I also am very against saying, "Oh, time heals everything." Yeah, that's one of my least favorite phrases on the computer. And again, it goes in. It's kind of it's a coping mechanism for people who say it because they want to believe in this idea that, oh, you'll just get better. You just you'll be fine. They want to accept that stuff has lasting, lingering effects. And Instagram is the crustiest website I've ever seen. People go on there and they read your message and don't even respond back. And then when you say, "Hey, you're ignoring me," "Oh no, I'm not ignoring you. I love you." They're really fans of trying to pretend they're so interested in talking to you. Then when you try to talk to them, they ignore you. That's a nice little dichotomy. For a lot of those relations people have, if you take them out, you can really screw up a person. Like just one person not being around anymore can just completely devastate somebody. I remember there was this one senator during it was the first Democratic presidential debate, not from this past election cycle, but the one before that. And he was called out for like making some weird vote in the Senate. He was like, "Oh, that's not fair. My dad died." So he was trying to use his dad's death as an excuse for why he voted on some bill. Like, oh yeah, you might when your parent dies, you suddenly vote in this other type of manner. And again, I wouldn't even be laughing at, like, I'm not laughing at his dad's death. It's just the idea that that would be your excuse for this vote. Oh, it can be that they lack empathy. Oh, of course, we've seen nothing online except a complete empathy shortage. There's this one movie commentator that I really don't like. I think he's probably one of the one of the worst commentators I've ever seen online. that like has thousands of subs. Like he's around the same size as me. And he does this one big hour plus long video talking trash about a well liked movie, and the rest of his videos are just a bunch of streams that go on forever. Like I've never seen someone who just has nothing to do and sit on a stream for 10 hours a day. But he posted a picture on Twitter of his dog that had died from, I guess, swallowing some kind of poison or chemical or whatever. And I thumbed it up, you know, along with all the other people that were showing support for him, because there's just certain lines I don't cross, even as someone that is a detractor of his. And that's why I said that, like, I really hate a lot of the people on the computer, because I know that whenever something bad were to happen to me, it's either treated like as not that big of a deal, or they're like very nasty and antagonistic to you for no reason. Like if I did a video called, "Oh, my dog died," I would have somebody going in and say, "Well, this just doesn't have anything to do with the other stuff we talk about, so I want you to get the..." No, people online are really gross and just like they have no standards at all, which is what causes me to just have, again, certain stuff I won't discuss on here, because um, there is a silliness and a nastiness that you just get from people on a computer that I don't do to other people. Like I'd never have gone on anyone else's post about romance and mock them or like try to insult them over not being with the broad. So I said the guys on this website act like villains. Yeah, I understand it really is sickening. There's this one commentator I watch. His grandma died about 3 years ago, and he loved her. She used to take care of him. Thought she was funny. All kind of. So he had this 30-plus-year relationship with his grandma. So of course, when this person dies, he feels horrible. But he's a streamer, so he still tries to put up, streams regularly. And he does a stream, I guess, with her name in the title, or just kind of talking about her, like a tribute stream. And somebody called, because he hosts a call-in show too. Someone calls in to say that his grandmother is in hell. They've never met this lady. She's never done anything to them. But because this person doesn't like her grandson, she has to tell him that his grandmother is in hell. Again, it wouldn't be me. I don't do this type of stuff to people. That commentator I mentioned is again one of the worst I have ever seen online. Every time he talks about movies, I feel like I've lost intelligence listening to him. Because like all these people do is they make they make these very long videos because they know it's hard for people to respond to like each part of the video. And they start the movie from the beginning, and then they start like, why hasn't this been explained? Why hasn't this been explained? Why is the person? And you can literally do that with any movie. That's just I don't like that style of criticism. And what really kills me, right, is that they don't even try to say, hey, this is just my opinion. They try to present their opinion as fact. Like they call it objective film criticism, but you're never going to get objective critiques that determine quality, because quality is an opinion. So for example, if Megumi did a movie and the villain never explains what his plan is before he's killed in the climax of the film, I could say that that's an objective film critique, right? The villain is underdeveloped. But does that make the movie automatically bad? See what I'm saying? Of how you can't, because people have various factors that lead them to like or dislike something. And also a lot of times people have things they dislike about something they like. It's hard to sit there and actually know, oh, well, I've now found this problem, so this is now objectively bad. It's just I hate that so much, because it's them trying to pass their opinion as fact. Like if I criticize stuff the way they do, I would look at let's say the Boost saga, right? Which I lean towards saying it's okay. I wouldn't call it bad. I just think it's not as good as what came before. But I'm like, Oh well, there's three villains this arc, and two of them have no motivation. They're just evil for the sake of being evil, and you know, I could say, okay, this is my objective critique that they're underdeveloped. We don't really know much about them. But then if I say, okay, well, this is now objectively bad because there's underdeveloped villains. It's like, yeah, but that's your opinion. That one particular thing, again, in actuality, wouldn't make me think something is bad because there's a lot of stuff I like where I think the villains are kind of eh. But again, even with a guy like that, when his dog died and he took his picture where he was like crying on top of it, I didn't mock him or make fun of him. What ended up happening was he mocked some movie that somebody liked right after his dog died, and the person responded to that, and then he tried to, go, oh well, you can't insult music, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? That he started a fight over something else, and then they responded to that, and then he was like trying to, play victim. Yeah, anyone can sit and watch a movie and nitpick every little thing they don't like in a movie and act like a smug prick about their opinions. Yeah, and I don't do that on here. Like this guy actually got upset about one. I'm not going to say that because I don't want to promote someone as awful as him. He's a small guy, and I hope he stays that way, comparatively speaking to other people on here. But he actually put up a tweet where he was like, "Do people actually think this film is unironically good?" And it's like he'll write something like this, right? Where he's asserting that it's like mind blowing to him that people can like this movie that he himself doesn't think is good and actually think it's of quality. And then he'll be surprised when people come and say, hey, can you stop? Leave us alone. Again, just picking fights. It's kind of like if I went on, what's a good example? If I went on Instagram and I said, because the granola arc is the current thing with Dragon Ball. Do people actually think the granola arc is unironically good? I can see enjoying it for being bad, but thinking this is good, please don't make me review the entire thing. But no one is saying that you are not allowed to dislike it, but why is it shocking to you that this this movie that he's talking about, by the way, made over $800 million. Why is it shocking to you that this thing that was seen by loads and loads of people has some people that like it? And it's sad. I really dislike people like him. Seriously, far too many people like that online. It's insane. Oh, by the way, let me also mention this. There's a movie that he just loves, right? I actually do like the movie, but I kind of am annoyed that I like the same thing as him because it's like you and I are not so different. I don't want to be associated with someone like that, but this person that he's collaborators with, like they show up on each other's streams, made a 90-minute video talking about why this movie had problems, right? Like nitpicking it. And I didn't agree with the video, but whatever. This same person, right, that made the video about, not the video, but made the post about the dog and that I just was talking trash about. In response to this 90-minute video, he makes an 11-hour stream about this video. And I'm just sitting thinking to myself, if I did a video that was an hour and a half long and somebody made a stream that was literally half the size of a literal day, I would be pissed off because I can't even respond to this video without making one that's, I don't know, 15 hours. Like, how do you, that's why I said that they use they have nothing to do and they use having nothing to do to make these bloated, stretched out, mammoth, gigantic size videos that nobody can critique because no one has the time to sit there for 11 hours watching that stuff. Oh, well, let's go look. James, I really hope you are playing. I really hope you're playing and that this stream only has 0 views because you said who's gonna watch an 11-hour stream? Let's find out. You should not have written that. That was a mistake. If I can even find his other stupid channel. I like how all their content is the same. They all have like one really big edited video, and then it's just a bunch of streams that just go on and on. Like I will never stream for more than maybe 3 hours, and even that's pushing it because I just have things to do. I don't want to sit there all day. Uh, let's see. I found the channel. This was 6 months ago. It's sitting at 5.8 thousand views. See, what happens is a lot of people may watch parts of a video, but no one because for a YouTube video to get a view, it has to have 30 seconds watched. And people will have that stuff just playing in the background. I played one of his videos and I was going to sleep. I put it on my TV. That's the best showing of a YouTube channel when your videos are used to for someone to go to take a nap. Your videos are hypnosis. Or, no, your videos are a lullaby. Well, 5.8 thousand people wouldn't be you either. But like I said, I would despise someone for doing that simply because I just think it's really creepy to sit there for a literal half a day talking about this video that's not even 2 hours long. But also, you can't respond to it because of how damn long it is. And the reason it's that long is because for some reason he can't just do a stream by himself like I do. He has to have like a Sinister Six or a Masters of Evil or Justice League on it. They have to all, it's like 6, 5, 7, 8 people that are all talking for like 10 minutes straight. So they just inflate the video. That's absurdly long. Holy cow. No, I despise him. He is one of my most disliked people on this site. Every time I go on Twitter and I see someone screenshotting what he wrote to like make fun of him, I'm just like, can we stop talking about this person? He is one of, if I had to make a list of my top 10 worst movie critics, like just not even like the ones that people know about, but just in general, he'd be in like the bottom 3, if not the absolute worst, because he's a very opinionated prick who tries to pass his opinion off as fact. And then he's like a fake tough guy because he will launch into like, he doesn't see. I said on here that I don't respond to my comment section because when I write something back to people, a lot of times they don't either respond themselves or they like respond by not addressing what I said. On Twitter, from the time it's morning to at night, he will respond to every single person that ats him. Just no matter who it is, he'll just argue back and forth with them. I think he's the worst. But again, even with someone like that, when his animal died, his animal didn't make any stupid videos, so I didn't have a problem expressing condolences. I know that his dad died a few years back too, and I wouldn't mock him over that because, again, I have no issue with his dad. His dad sounds like a decent. I know his dad wasn't online pissing people off. Oh, it is the internet. If you're James, what would I look like if I did 11-hour streams where it's me and even if it's me and like 5 other people, just 11-hour streams, and I was on Twitter responding to people all day? I'm glad that you're brave enough to make videos about the common occurrence of romantic falsehood for most men. Yeah, Banana, I think if they shut the internet off for like 2 days, he would lose his mind. Because there's a lot of stuff I like to watch on here, but just he sits on the computer all day long if he's not at his job. I mean, what are you going to be speaking about for this stream to be 11 hours long? Well, that's my thing, that all their streams are like this. It's them and a bunch of other people because none of them can host a stream by themselves, apparently. Even though when they make an edited video, it's just them by themselves. So I don't know why they can't do streams by them. I guess this is like a special power I have. but it's like a group of them that get together, and it's always like 5 or 6 people, if not more. Um, and then they just play somebody else's video or trash something that a bunch of people like. The group that he's part of, he wasn't on the stream. Okay, I just want to clarify that. Just this past Saturday, they did a stream that went on for 7 hours, and it was like 9 people. It couldn't be me. You would never see me sit up here with 5 other people. Hey, let's talk about chicks all day long. It's like, make your own damn video. Why do you need to be on mine? No, they love doing that. I just noticed that too. Like, as I was talking about, none of them ever do streams by themselves. They always have to have like a Justice League worth of people, or the Avengers, to all get together and get on the stream. I actually know people who will have straight up panic attacks if they're offline for more than 8 hours. Oh, I know that too, because I've seen people like at different places I go to when they're working, they're on their phone on like Instagram or some other website. So it is an addiction. Yeah, objective film critiques. I almost want to make a parody account where I just take like movies that are very well liked, and just this is how they do it. They started from the beginning, and then like after every time somebody speaks, right, they pose a question. They're like, why is this person saying this if this is happening? How did this person not know this when this happened? Oh my God. I think he made like there's like a 4-minute scene in this one movie that he made an hour-long video about. It's like, Jesus Christ. It never stops. But again, the reason they do this type of stuff is because they know they can get attention off of speaking negatively about stuff that people like. I've been watched over 11 hours of your videos before. It's great stuff. Yeah, but you're never going to binge watch an 11-hour stream by me, because that will never exist. And like I said, it's not even a thing of he starts to stream and then other people start talking. He's there from second 1 to hour 11 or hour 8 or hour 5. Hell, I don't think he's ever done a stream that's less than 3 hours. So yeah, he lives and breathes in the computer, which again would be okay, and I think I'm not here to be upset over that. It's just negativity gets yeah, it does. He literally became more notable as a commentator. His first video is him talking trash about a movie that was considered one of the best ever made in its genre. Like if I made a video right now called why Star Wars 1977, I'm not going to call it A New Hope, why that's not good, why you've all been tricked. And then it's like 2 hours of me saying, why is this person this? Why? You would say, well, really? I could make that type of video. I wouldn't do it because I don't have that opinion, and I'm not an attention whore. But again, it's like they do this type of stuff just to get attention and try to pretend, no, I just was sitting around and watched this movie, and all of a sudden I noticed all these problems with it that were, not good. And he, in his video on that movie that came out over 10 years ago, he really tried to make it sound like he's like Indiana Jones, like he uncovered all of these flaws that no one before him ever saw. Then you definitely can infer the reasoning for him doing videos like this for easy attention and views. Because listen, I'm just going to say it outright. Streams are much easier to do than edited videos with the script. So when you make one video that's very controversial about a movie that's very well liked, and it gets you like thousands and thousands of views, and then after that you make a video, you make streams that are hours plus long where all you do is just sit there with your little buddies and talk about whatever all day long. It's very simple. Why are people liking this that I don't like? Like I said, the only reason I don't say his name is because I don't want him to get any more attention. I'm not giving him free advertising. Just know if you've never had the misfortune of hearing his voice or like watching anything that he's starring in, you're a winner. It sucks too because when he made that video, I said, "Hey, you made some good points. This is a pretty decently edited video." And then I went on Twitter and went on that other guy's channel that he like mooches off of to get attention from. He's literally a baby version of I Hate Everything. All they do is trash talk all the different, like anything new that comes out, they have a problem with. And again, you know they're doing it for attention because a lot of this stuff, when it comes out, even if you personally don't like it, will be met with overall positive reception. I know people who didn't like Endgame, but it was met with overall positive reception. And again, you might say, well, just disliking one movie is not enough for that to be the case. But like, if all you do is talk about things that you claim you don't like, you don't think that's weird? What would I look like if I said, let me give an example. I don't like, I don't know, anime. And then every new video I do, this is why this show is bad. This is why that show is bad. This is why this show is bad. This is why this show is bad. It's like, why are you watching stuff you don't like that continuously lets you, that like, who does that? I know who does it. The people on here want some views because they know trashing something that's well liked gets them attention. Just like if I made a video called "Why Naruto Shippuden Sucks," I don't like it as much as Part One. I've been very clear about that. I don't like to even talk about that series anymore. But if I did a video called that, and it's, you know, it has that in the title, Naruto Shippuden is not good, or is far from being amazing or whatever, or is only subpar, people would click and go, "What the hell is he talking about?" And I would get more attention from a video like that than if I made one saying why I thought it was good or great. Again, you can do his style of criticism with literally anything. Which is why, like, at this point, I just kind of, yeah, facts right there. Yeah, it's clowns on this website, man. I don't make any of this stuff for views. It's nice if it gets views, but it's like there were people back when I guess started regularly doing the romance stuff that said, "You put this video in the comedy category, so are you playing with us? Is this a joke?" I'm just thinking to myself, I did political videos that had to, because the comedy category was an automatic thing that the video would go into because I would upload it on my channel. And no one says that those news stories were jokes. So I said, it's just this. But again, they say stuff like that because they don't want to believe what you're saying is actual or factual or whatever term you want to use. Yeah, just that guy is, again, if I was someone that really liked drama or wanted attention or like, it beefs and conflicts and stuff, I would do a whole hour plus long video about why he is one of the worst movie commentators to have ever existed. Because listen, we've all heard like ridiculous stuff people type on Twitter, but most of them are going to make hours plus long videos trashing things that people like and then like assert their opinion as fact, you know? Imagine you're just sitting and drinking a Pepsi, and someone comes up and says, "Did you unironically think Pepsi is good?" And then goes on a tangent about how gross Pepsi is. Yeah, how can someone enjoy something I don't like? Ah. Like, dude, if you don't like it, don't bother. Well, that's why I said that he's doing it for attention because it's like, how I explain this? You're not going to see someone make a video. And I don't think I made this point here before, but you're not going to see someone make a video called "Why the Original Legend of Zelda doesn't hold up anymore." Like why that game is no longer good, why everyone who liked it when it came out and even now which has been tricked. And if that person does ever, because people have played games and not liked them before, but if a person plays that game and doesn't like it, you're not going to see them keep making videos about Zelda games. They're going to say, okay, I don't like this genre. I'm going to go play something else. Movies are the only genre of stuff I've ever seen where there's like this weird, these contrarians, these people who are like, who will attack it so that they can get attention off of disliking something that a lot of people like. And again, disliking something people like does not automatically make you a contrarian. Because Ben Shapiro said that he didn't like the first Avengers, but you don't see Ben Shapiro making an hour-plus long video on why the first Avengers was bad, and we were all duped, and about all these flaws he was able to find that not noticed by the overwhelming majority. Like he really sounds like a goddamn egotist that he was able to see all these issues that the rest of us were blindsided by, and it really irritates me because I don't consider myself some all-knowing person. Like there are certain things that people point out to me that I didn't think of before. But it's like, just you have to really believe you're just this really sophisticated, intelligent film critic. Oh, by the way, another thing is people were telling, because he was saying that he wasn't going to look at movies from the standpoint of anything other than writing, right? Because a movie is a visual medium. They have acting, they have music, cinematography, all this stuff, right? And someone said it best that if the only thing that matters about a movie is its writing, not any of this other stuff, why don't they just review books? And I'm just imagining them just like picking out novels. I like this character's text in that page. But the reason they don't do that is because they know if they talk trash about like novels, because nobody reads, they're not going to get any attention. And they don't read themselves probably. Yeah, for real, I don't get it. I get it. It's called trying to become famous by being like, I guess the baby version of I hate everything. People in public don't do this because they look like complete lunatics. Yeah. Well, that's because most people don't want to watch things they don't like. So it makes them look even crazier when they're doing these long plus videos about this was bad and that was bad and this was bad and that was bad. Just like they do this for the DC extended universe, where he said that all of the movies for that franchise, like 10 of them, are bad. And I'm like, you're the lunatic who is psychotic enough to see multiple just film after film that you don't like, right? And just keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. It's like you don't think that makes him look weird? Like who like these 9 movies are all about around 2 hours. Let's say they're all 2 hours. Some might be a little bit shorter, longer, but they're all about 2 hours. So he spent 18 hours watching things that he thought were bad, that he already believed were bad, but he just kept watching and seeing the new installments just to reconfirm his bias. And like I said, no normal person does that. Seriously, though, imagine if people did this in real life. They don't. They come on here and do this stuff because it gets them attention. It's the only reason. You're not going to see anybody in real life saying, hey, let me explain to you why this thing that's very well liked is bad. Yeah, the only thing that matters in a visual medium is writing. Exactly. Why would you watch things you don't like anyway and actually invest your time into reviewing movies for extended long periods of time? I just think it's very psychotic to watch a movie series where you have multiple installments back to back that you don't like and just keep watching it. Like if I thought, like let's say I watched the original Star Wars trilogy, right? I don't think it's good. I'm not going to go watch the prequels and sequels and just that's it. Again, every time I just sit down and describe it, they sound more and more psychotic, and it doesn't sound like something a normal person would do unless they're trying to get attention, which is the motive. Hell, they actually went in his server and they screenshotted where one of the guys said, "We're not going to review this show because it's boring," and then they reviewed the show anyway, but not because they were saying something that no one else was saying about this show. Because there are people who don't like the show, admittedly. They did it because when they make these hour plus long streams, they get money from their subscribers. They start donating to them. It's very profitable to be negative and trash talk stuff that you claim to not like, but then keep watching it anyway. Just like when Super was putting out chapters of that Tournament of Power that people didn't like. You know, I'm talking about that very rushed Tournament of Power that like took 50 episodes from the show and squeezed it all into like 12 chapters. People stopped reading the manga. They didn't want to keep seeing something that they thought was bad. My friend tried to prevent me from watching Fairy Tail. His evidence for that was a YouTube video. Person who was doing the so-called critique made no actual points, just whined incessantly about how they think Fairy Tail is bad. See, I hate that because when I don't like something, I give points about why I don't like it or think it's good. And then the other thing is, again, it's one thing to do a video, but like he will respond to every single time someone says something to him on social media about any of this stuff. His entire online persona is trash talking something somebody likes. And then he was like, he retweeted where somebody said no movie is safe. And I'm like, well, all that translates to is I'm going to go back and pick something else up that people think is good. And then I'm going to explain why I believe it's bad and then assert my opinion as fact. And then, act like a condescending prick when the thing that was well received is still well received after I make my video. Oh, he loves drama. Yeah, he lives for it. And he likes the attention. Because I know there's no way in hell that if I was a more well-known commentator just on any of this stuff, whether it's the romance stuff or political stuff, and people were adding me on Twitter, I would respond to most of it, if not any of it. I don't have the time to sit here and argue with people all day about this stuff. Yeah, we got pretty off topic toward the end, but I think I addressed the stuff that I was trying to talk about, which was that there are a lot of instances where someone loses someone they care about, and then um, they're told to move on or get over it, and then people are surprised they're unable to move on or get over it, and like a lot of when you have like nebulous terms. See, this is what I hate, and I'll close it out with this. I hate nebulous terms because you're saying things that don't make any sense to anyone but yourself. Like you're not actually saying something that I can look at and go, okay, well, yeah, um, this is what this means. Like if I say Megumi's videos are bad because I find the lighting to be very minimal. I don't think the points are as in depth because he usually talks for maybe 2 minutes when I'd like him to talk longer, whether that's 10 or 11. Even if you don't agree with that dissertation, I'm still explaining it enough to where you understand what I'm saying, regardless of if you agree with it or not. when someone comes on your, yeah, it is nebulous. It's stuff that the person is saying that can't be explained because it doesn't have a defined meaning. Like if I say uh Eurodollar's avatar is ugly, well, what is pretty? What avatar would look good? It doesn't have a defined meaning, is what I'm saying. And look no better than the comment section of my last stream. True, though, do you feel attracting a woman emotionally is the key that you have missed? What does attracting a woman emotionally even mean? And again, even if you come up with what it means, like you say, hey, you know what? It means, oh, attract a person in a way that makes them like you emotionally. Like it still's like, what's the difference between attracting someone regularly and because but again, it's not up to me to figure out what that means. It's up for him to explain what his interpretation of that is because it's nebulous. It doesn't, it's like they're talking in riddles. I might as well have the Riddler in my comment section. Riddle me this: who feels emotional but also wants to go on a date with you? I don't know. Do you feel attracting a woman emotionally is the key that you have missed? Oh my god. Do you feel donating to me constantly is the key that you have missed? Well, what is constant? What is it? Am I supposed to donate to you every day, every week, every month? Yeah, that's a good way to debunk this. A lot of people like using nebulous terms which only make sense to themselves and don't expand or elaborate more on it. Hey, that's like if I said Megumi's comments are too negative. Well, what's the right amount of negativity? Let me respond to this lady on this other website. I kept her waiting for like 30 minutes. I just wish people would explain what they're because I don't know what that means. And I'm not going to sit here and try to speculate because it's not it still could be incorrect based off of whatever he's talking about. God, I just why can't people ever just give clear examples of what they're talking about? Like if I came on here and was being a pickup artist and said, "Hey, you can get a woman to like you if you wear cool clothes." Well, what does that mean? Am I supposed to wear a suit and tie? We all have different interpretations of what's cool to us. Like that's why I said it doesn't it has to be elaborated by that person, or else they're talking in ways that we can't quantify. I'd be offended too. Eurodollar traders personality is probably unbecoming of a man of his age. What does that mean? Is it too mature? Is he acting like someone that's even older than he actually is? Is he acting like someone that's younger than he is? Like that's why I said you will lose your mind trying to understand what these people are because they're not saying anything. The key that you have missed. I mean, if I missed that key, apparently everybody else is. We all we're all looking for this missing key. I don't even like even if I were to try to speculate on that, it still feels like I guess BS because it's like if you don't attract people emotionally, why do they sit here and talk to you for months? Whatever. Unbecoming. What kind of word is that? Yeah. That's why I said just like with the person who said, I'm mediocre because I'm single. So does that mean that all those serial killers and terrorists that had wives are better people than me? They're all high quality men. I'm never letting that one go. I'm gonna talk about that in the video too. You're a subpar specimen because a random broad who's probably never accomplished anything herself doesn't like you. Where that I'm always gonna make fun of that. And again, it's not even just that it's like you're being told this because you're single. Like apparently that's a crime, or that makes you a worse person than people who aren't single. But just like look at the people who say this. What has he accomplished? To even be saying that to me. That's why I said people online, they have no empathy. Imagine a woman getting divorced after her husband beats her, like she tries to get away from him by divorcing him. And then I come on here and say, you need to find another man. Why be content with being mediocre? And she says, no, I don't want to date anybody else after the experience I had with a person I trusted and they abused me. Why are you, where's your upward mobility? You would never see someone say that to a woman. They can be single and no one tells them that they have to have random bananas as part of their objectives. Some people really don't see a problem with drama seeking behavior. Well, yeah, because that's why I say when people come online, they think they're like Superman, they're immune to stuff, you know? Oh, Megumi, it's coming. I got most of the script written. I don't know if I'll be able to do it today. I might be able to finish it tomorrow. I don't know. I very much am confident it'll come out this week though. Because I just have some other stuff today I have to do to where I can't just like sit there with it. So um anyways, I'm gonna get off of here because I've gone for about an hour and a half. Hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm really sorry that there are people on the computer that act like villains. Because it's like this guy's grandma dies. He does a stream talking about her, and you call it and say she's in hell. And then, but I'm supposed to be one of the bad people. Is I'm not messing with anybody over this. That's why I said I don't like people on the computer by and large because they're very nasty. They're toxic. They're gross. Oh yeah, I saw that. On CNN, not on their website, not the network. I always remember that clip of New Jack talking about Benoit. It took a straight coward to do what he did. But hell, even with that, I would excuse it as someone that likes Benoit as a wrestler simply because he was friends with Nancy, Benoit's wife, and then this person gets taken from him, and he's not supposed to get angry and still be upset about it years later. He actually did an interview last year where he said that when he found out Benoit killed his family, he didn't immediately register it as being Nancy because they would just keep saying the wife. So Latino Heat was my favorite wrestler growing up. Vivo, yeah, I remember his theme song. Wait, let me go look. Well, if it is, it was by pure coincidence that I just did the stream with where she was invoked. Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't know. So thanks for showing up. I'll do another one on Monday and I'll put some videos up throughout the week. So have a good day.